So Trump's biggest implosion in the polls is actually among Hispanics. He did pretty well with them in 2024 relative to how other Republicans normally do. But man, did he fall off an absolute cliff. And it's not that hard to figure out why. I mean, of course, you have the basic stuff like inflation being out of control, unemployment being out of control and rising further. So the economy is struggling colossally. But then you also have, I don't know, rounding up and attempting to deport innocent people who are here legally or who are immigrants and have been here for 30 years and have never committed a fucking crime. And so let's take a look. Here we have Harry Enton breaking down some numbers for us.
What are we seeing? You know, one of the big shifts in 2024 from 2020 was that shift towards Donald Trump, right? Immigration played a key role in that. I want to start off with Latinos on Trump and immigration. You know, back a year ago, what did we see on the issue of immigration? Latino voters trusted Kamala Harris more than Donald Trump, but by just 2 points. 1, 2. Look now at Donald Trump's net approval rating on immigration among Latinos. He is 38 points underwater. That is a 36-point shift, essentially, from where we were a year ago on immigration. Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are basically tied on the issue of immigration. And now on the issue of immigration, Latinos despise, hate Donald Trump. 38 points underwater. In their mind, he is doing something absolutely wrong when it comes to immigration.
And now you know why Democrats are 14 points up in the generic ballot for the midterms. And Democrats are leading by, 33 points with independents? Because he is absolutely ruining the massive gains that he had made.
What about the Latino vote overall? All right, how do Latinos feel about Donald Trump overall? Let's take a look here. This, I think, sort of gives the game away. Yeah, oh my goodness. I mean, that is the phrase of the day. Trump's net approval rating among Latinos. In early February, again, he was just 2 points underwater. Look at where he is now. Late October, minus 34 points. 34 points underwater. A shift of 32 points over the course of this year. I should point out this is the CBS News YouGov poll, but I was looking at the average polls. I was looking at our own poll. Very similar shift. 20, 25, 30-point shifts on the net approval rating away from Donald Trump among Latinos overall. Again, whatever Donald Trump is doing in office, in the minds of Latinos, it is not working. They have turned against him in massive, massive numbers.
I was in New Jersey a couple weeks ago on election night there. People were watching certain counties with high Latino populations very closely. What did we learn?
Yeah, what did we learn from the 2025 elections? I took the highest Latino percentage area in both New Jersey and Virginia. New Jersey, it was Union City. Look at this, 2024 president, 2025 governorship. There was a 52... I'm laughing because you never see any numbers like this. A 52-point shift towards Mikey Sherrill from how Kamala Harris did on the margin. Mikey Sherrill ran away.
That is like earth-shattering. That is absolutely earth-shattering, bro. It's unbelievable. I've never seen a swing like that in such a short time frame.
With this, Kamala Harris did win that vote, but by a small margin. Mikey Sherrill did 52 points better. How about in Virginia, Manassas Park? Look at that. A 22-point shift.
I should also point out, I actually think there was a bigger swing. There was a bigger swing in the Muslim Arab areas in New Jersey. The swing was even larger.
Towards Abigail Spanberger from how Kamala Harris did back in 2024. We saw huge Latino shifts in both New Jersey and Virginia. The idea of what happens to Donald Trump won't impact down ballot. If you're a Republican, you believe that. That is fantasy land. What is happening to Donald Trump absolutely impacted what happened down ballot. Part of it is turnout, but part of it is persuasion. Latinos running away from Republicans, running to the Democrats. A big reversion of the mean. Latinos back in the Democratic camp in 2025 in a way they simply put we're not in 2024, and it's because of Donald John Trump.
Yeah, and let's be clear. It is literally not because of anything Democrats have done or said, right? This is just flat out, straight up negative polarization against the psycho who's destroying the country. And that's why I keep making the point to you guys. Imagine we also had Democrats who stood up and fought for the right things, right? Then that number would be even higher than this.
A lot can change between now and next November, the 2026. But if you start sort of extrapolating this and overlaying it on places like Texas.
Yes, we're going to be having lots of discussion about Texas. That redistricting may not work out the way that a lot of Texas Republicans and Donald Trump hope it would.
So the collapse among Republicans was so thorough that even if Republicans were to gerrymander everywhere, it could backfire and hurt them more. Because you take these areas and you're like, they wanted to gerrymander under the assumption that these gains that they had made with various minority communities that they would hold. And so they wanted to redraw some districts, be like, okay, this will be like a Trump +2 district. And it's like, well, now you have Democrats winning in Trump +25 districts, Trump +30 districts. A Trump +2 district, you're just handing the Democrats another seat. So imagine being so disgusting to people that, like, even with you cheating to get a leg up, it makes you worse off. Imagine being that grotesque to the people of this country. All right, but we have some More examples here. We got some interviews. This was on MSNBC. Finally made the jump, bro. They finally made the name change. They were MSNBC. Now they're MS Now. You can see the little banner here. But let's listen to talking to a Latino voter who voted for Trump. Let's see what they're thinking now.
You told me that you voted for President Trump in 2024. Do you regret that decision? ¿Te arrepientes esa decisión?
Yes, 100%.
Listen, normally, you know how people are. People are stubborn. People try to justify and rationalize like literally every single thing they do. So for you to just get somebody to be like, oh, well, fucking, of course I regret it. Of course. He's the devil. That is such a sign of what's to come, right? Like, it's just such a sign of what's about to unfold. And it was an instant snap answer, too. Of course damn, bro. Because usually somebody would be like, well, look, I mean, Kamala was also not my cup of tea, so what am I going to do? Like, I didn't like either choice, but I like this one for this reason and that reason and this reason. He doesn't even bother. Just right to, fucking, of course, fuck this guy, bro.
Yes, 100%.
Why do you regret that decision?
That's because it's nothing that's true. It's not true. You know, and the first time he says something, and now, example, in the Latino people, we see everything is different. And the first time example, he say he go to catch the delincuentes. Criminals, yeah. And right now, he don't follow to criminals.
I know there's a language barrier here, but I get exactly what homie's saying. He's like, what happened, bro? I was under the impression you were only going to go after the violent criminals and deport them. Why are you going after totally innocent people? In fact, it is the exact opposite, guys. Not many people know this. Not many people have really internalized what's happening here. But they stopped going after the hardened criminals to go after innocent people on purpose. Let me repeat that. They stopped going after the real criminals to go after innocent people on purpose. It was Stephen Miller who said, let's get rid of the various wings of the agencies that are specifically going after the human traffickers, that are specifically going after the cartels, that are specifically going after the violent criminals. It takes an extra level of investigation and research to try to figure out who to deport, right? Stephen Miller said, fuck that. Don't do that. In fact, we're going to disband a lot of these groups that are doing that hard work. And we're going to say, hey, ICE agents, hop in your Tahoe and go to the local Home Depot and start rounding up the day laborers. And that's literally what they did. And so, yeah, they're not going after criminals. Now, I will say, not to rub it in any way, shape, or form here, but we got to spit facts. The fact of the matter is, Trump was giving signs that he wasn't just going to go after criminals, right? When they're holding up mass deportation signs at the RNC, you cannot do mass deportations without going after non-criminals because there just aren't that many criminal undocumented immigrants in the country. You'd blow through them in a week, right? So if you're holding mass deportation signs and Trump talks about mass deportations, he was always going to go after innocent people. He was always going to go after people who should still be in this country. And the other thing is, when he was on the debate stage, remember, they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the pets. Well, guys, what was he referring to when he said that? He was talking about legal Haitian immigrants in the Midwest. So again, that's a sign I'm going to also go after legal immigrants. He literally, he got like the overwhelming majority of the Cuban vote. Cubans vote very right-wing because many of them were fleeing from communism and Castro. And then the Cubans voted for Trump. And then he started mass deporting now the Cubans. So, the signs were there, right? The signs were there and you were warned. But, Trump he's a con artist. And a con artist does his con man bullshit and can convince you he's with you even when he's not, right? That's the other thing. He always contradicts himself. But he says everything on any given issue, but what ends up happening is people say, oh, he means the one that I want him to mean. He doesn't mean the other thing he said that I don't agree with. This is how it works.
He go to specific to Latino people. Why Latino people? Because in the last Saturday, example, behind to me, I see the white people, the black people, and some people, Indian people, and Chinese people, and me. The DHS come specific to me.
So they're coming after him. And by the way, the Supreme Court said, yeah, go ahead. You can racially profile when it comes to immigration enforcement, of course. They legalized racial profiling on some nonchalant whim type shit.
And catch to me. Not the other people. because don't care to other people, specific Latino people.
So what's going on here? I mean, I think it's very straightforward. He understands what's happening. It's happened to him personally. I'm sure it's happened to other people that he knows and loves or his friends. And people are not stupid. There's been such a barrage of these stories of the assault on our civil liberties and justice that, you know, you can't not see it. You can't. I mean, remember, there was somebody with an autism awareness tattoo that was sent to the Sikot concentration camp, and they lied and said this is a gang tattoo. The guy literally had a tattoo, an autism awareness tattoo, for his brother who's autistic, who he helped raise. They lied and said it was a gang tattoo. I mean, that's disgusting. How about the guy, the gay Venezuelan hairdresser? He had a mom and dad tattoo, and ICE said, those are gang tattoos, and we're also going to send you to the concentration camp. This is like nightmare, you know, Nazi German type stuff here that we're talking about. They sent 288 people to that concentration camp, and 90% of them had no criminal record whatsoever. We had an American from Puerto Rico who was a veteran, and he was arrested. We have U.S. Marshals who have gotten arrested. Again, why do you think? Because they have brown skin. An American citizen who spoke Mayan was arrested and held for a week. Even the mom even showed up and said, here's his social security card. Here's his birth certificate. Here are all of his papers. And they said, well, we can't release him now. What? They held him for a fucking week, guys, for a week. I mean, this is just crazy. And that's to say nothing of, they deported a 4-year-old American citizen with cancer. They arrested a woman immediately after she gave birth when she was in her fucking hospital bed. We're dealing with demons. But it looks like people have woken up across this country. They really have. And, there's no hiding this level of depravity. And the other thing that I should point out is, as terrible and as bad as Trump is, understand, they basically gave him Lego blocks and said, go play in the corner, bitch. We're done with you. We're not going to babysit you anymore. Why do you think he was redoing the Lincoln bathroom? Why do you think he's knocking down the east wing of the White House and building the ballroom? This was a coordinated effort and a plan from the shadow presidents to get him out of their way. And so Stephen Miller, the Jewish Nazi, is now running immigration policy completely. He literally raided a South Korean factory that was being built here with South Korean legal workers, and he had them fucking kicked out of the country. And even Trump was like, I don't support that. I was never for that. Stephen Miller literally vetoed Trump. He vetoed Trump and did whatever the fuck he wanted to do. What about Russ Vought? Russ Vought and Elon Musk, these are the people who are controlling domestic economic policy. They're the ones slashing government to the bone. They're the ones who fired 83,000 veterans. They're the ones who cut pediatric cancer research and Meals on Wheels. They are actually controlling economic policy in a way that Trump isn't, right? And Marco Rubio, they gave him South America. Hey, you do whatever the fuck you want with South America. So he's murdering random fishermen. And he's going to try to do regime change in Venezuela because this is what the Cuban right has always wanted to do. So the neocons are neoconning. The imperialists are imperialisting, right? That's what's happening right in front of our eyes. And I think people are finally starting to wake up here to the horror show that we're witnessing. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.